You are listening to the Hello Sport podcast.
I always thought that you would be perfect for a podcast. Like, I always thought that that would be something you would want to do because you're a massive, like, US sports fan and all that sort of shit. Like, is that something you ever have done? Or?
I've pitched one and it nearly got up. It was so I've got one in the pipeline that I might do with Triple M, but the problem is, right, I don't want to be derivative. So I think the most obvious one is the interview. I think I could do that pretty well, but the problem is there's a million of those out there. So there's the style you blokes do, which is very good and it's very conversational. Then there's the Mark Howard style, which I think is probably more me, which is, take us through your career. So how would I be different from those blokes, apart from the fact it would be me? Well, that's not a big enough difference. So
you just have to be better.
So I think it's like getting there first in this area is so key. So I could do one and it may be better than Howie's. He's very good, by the way, so it would take a lot to be better than him or to be on that level. But then if someone's got a 5-10 year head start on you, it's just starting from the ground up on something. I've got an idea. It's to look back at rugby. You blokes would love it, actually. Rugby league seasons. So say the Bulldogs in 95 and find all the old audio and interviews with all the blokes. North Sydney's last year. I've got it written. I wrote it last year because I had a few months off last year before Triple M called me to do cricket. So it's ready to go. And then Triple M called me to do cricket and I just don't have time to put it together. So that might be the podcast. I want to do something that's not done by anyone else.
And it's not like with your contracts and shit, are you able to go out and just do something by yourself? Like, would you be able to just do one if you wanted to?
I'm very careful with contracts that I make sure I have that ability.
Yeah.
So currently I do one now for Sportsbet. Get them on side. Everyone should download that. What a beautiful segue you've just fed me, Tom. I mean,
very good.
Tom, you
just laid him up.
In the few years we've been apart, you have become a professional.
Well,
wow. I mean, that's very impressive, the way you just fed that to me. So that's a betting podcast. But yeah, so my Triple M contract is very specific. I can do stuff for them with podcasts. That's a separate thing. But I can do podcasts anywhere else. And Fox, my contract with Fox is television. Right. So I asked them out of courtesy if I'm going to do something, like I'm doing Saturday mornings at Triple M this year. And I asked them, I just said, look, do you mind if I do that? They didn't care. They said, is it going to get in the way of your commentary? I said, no. They said, well, fine. So, but I make sure I have that, as part of my deal. By the way, I'm cracking open a bloke, and I'll tell you why.
Yep.
I've never had bloke beer, but after hearing you blokes advertise it, I love a beer, and of many types. I've never wanted to make love to a beer until I heard you blokes. I mean,
that's the style.
Yeah.
It was sexual.
Yeah. It's erotic.
You put sexuality on the beer. So
Cheers, mate. Thanks for coming in.
It's a pleasure to be here. You do a very nice podcast, and I enjoy it.
Thank you very much, mate. It's lovely to meet you.
Well, that's not a bad drop.
No, it's good, eh?
I can't do. Sorry, Eddie. I can't do. It's your bloody generation, the craft beers and all that shit, the mango flavored shit.
Yeah. A vanilla porter stout or some bullshit.
I mean, just why? Why?
People just trying too hard, mate. You've got so much time.
I just spent a week in North Queensland. None of that garbage. I mean, it's there in the corner if you want it. But they have Great Northern Original and that garbage Great Northern Super Crisp on tap. You can't get that in Sydney.
Can't
you? You can't get Northern Original on tap. That's my beer, right? You can't get it on tap in Sydney, or it's very hard to find. But
like
my God, you
original,
can get the 65 different James Squires flavours.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it's also one that, like, will bloat you more than anything else.
You can have about 3 of them before you need to go home.
My mate around the corner has a craft beer like brewery, and it's been the longest time of like just trying to be like, whenever there's an event, he's got someone. I'm like, bro, I really can't get through more than one of these beers. Shit my pants.
Just give me one of your lagers and then leave the rest at the door,
go.
if you don't mind.
Let me go.
Now, you were Tom's first boss, correct?
Was I? Was I your first?
Well, the first like media boss, like radio.
That's right.
What are your memories of him?
Well, early.
Yeah.
Bit of a lazy prick. Got the sense didn't really know if he wanted to be there.
Yeah, it's probably not the
The
word.
fair-
It wasn't. I knew it wasn't your calling, radio producing. I knew it
No,
was a
the
step
producing side of things I found, like, I guess, a little bit.
But that's okay. That's a rite of passage for everyone. I did
Yes.
it, and I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do, but I did it for many years. And no, Tom became very, very good. I think that I ended up. You were my longest serving on the old 6 p.m. show.
Yep.
Did I ended up just leaving everything in your hands? Basically, just turn up at 4 o'clock and the rundown was done.
It got to it at that point where it was like I was left, and that's probably where I'd fuck it, like where you'd bake me, because it was like if you leave me to my own devices, I will probably fuck it up from a producing standpoint. Like,
Well, I must have trusted you if I left it to you.
yeah,
'cause
I wasn't. We got into a groove, you and I, where it was like, we'd come in, we'd be able to shoot the shit and get to where we wanted to be, but it was like
Took a while.
it took me a while. The first day I started with you was when Haynes signed to the NFL. And so it was like Liam, who was a producer beforehand, he went away to get married. So I'm just starting, like I was an intern, and then it was like starting, and then Haynes fucking joins the NFL, and I was like, holy shit. Like completely under the pump, barely knew how to cut up audio. But even the way you talk about those ads, or like, the general, there's a lot of you and the foundations that you set in me from a content perspective,
Oh,
I
that's
would
good.
say, genuinely, that, I've brought along with me to the bright lights of dead palm trees behind us in a podcast studio.
Well, Eddie was telling me some of the numbers. I mean, if I'm not getting a kickback from this, I'd be very disappointed after these very kind words.
Well, now that I know that you see him more as a father figure, and that he's played a significant role in this podcast success, then you may
Maybe
have
we
well
do
just
need
found
to-
you on the Christmas party list, mate.
Oh,
Or a lunch, maybe a long lunch.
is it here at the? Well, this is a great setup you've got, by the way. A great
We
setup.
haven't-
I mean,
we
you-
haven't launched yet.
We haven't launched yet here. That's right.
Oh, so I'm not supposed to talk about it.
No, as in we haven't
As in we
launched
just haven't.
with any sort of like celebratory welcome to the studio.
Oh, well, there's got to be a housewarming.
There will be. Tom and I are
Oh.
perfectionists though, and we need it to be perfect. And
Which
it's
it
like
isn't.
there's a couple more things that need to be done. I reckon a month we're good.
And it's if we get anything fucking done. You know what I mean? Like we've been trying to get a neon sign for behind here for like 6 months basically. The betting show is meant to be up and ready to go. That's set at the start of the season.
Yeah, that's
season is
right.
finished. But so you just in terms of the way that you were referencing how I was as a producer, like you were, like I knew that I enjoyed producing, right? Like when I started, but I did know like I didn't want to be doing shit for other people to say or like helping other. But is that what you were like? Because you're very good at what you do on mic, like as the person, but as you say, you started as a producer. Were you like, fuck this, I want to get on?
So my first job of consequence was producing Dead Set Legends. That was in about 2002. And now at that point, Triple M didn't have much. That was the only sport content on Triple M Sydney. The only thing was reading sport in the news, and which I was doing on the weekends, and the Dead Set Legends. There was no rugby league. There was no daily sports show. There was no nothing. We'd had AFL in Melbourne, but that obviously had nothing to do with us. So at that point, I was very happy to produce Dead Set Legends because I wasn't certain at that point I wanted to be a presenter on air, a commentator. I didn't know. I was 23, 24. I was just sort of working out what I wanted to be. So I really threw myself into that and, had Rabs and Greg Matthews and two more disparate personalities you could not find. That's what made it fun.
Yeah.
I'd have a conversation with Rabs every Thursday or Friday. It would go for an hour. Then I'd talk to Mo, and at the end of it, I'd just throw everything up in the air and go, what the fuck am I doing here? I have no idea how to do this show, but it seemed to work. They seemed to trust me. So I enjoyed that a lot. And then sort of things happen around me that I had nothing to do with. And in about 2008, 2009, the host, Russell Barwick, wasn't host anymore. So I think I'd filled in a couple of times. And I realised then when I filled in, I actually like this. Not because of sort of the ego that comes with it, but I'm producing this. I can execute what I want to produce, I think, in my mind, far better than what a host can produce. Now, that's just, I get frustrated. I was a nervous pacer up and down if a break didn't go the way I wanted. I was very controlling in that manner, which obviously, as you know, Tom, transferred on air. I was very controlling about how I wanted something to sound.
Jesus Christ, Tommy. That's what I remember when I fucked something up.
Yeah, no, that's true.
How often was that?
Not often, but you're always good as well because you'd be like, all right, that's my blow up out of the way, and then we just get back to it.
Well, that's the wog in me. That's the wog in me. You get a big blow up. Any wog knows you get a big blow up, and that's it. Once it's out of your system. So my mum's from a wog side. My dad is from an Anglo side. The Anglo side holds everything in and just resents. The wog side gets it out, and then come here for a hug. Come here. That's the end of that. So I think I've taken more of that side.
Any hugs? Did you hug it out, boys?
I don't know if we hugged it out. I don't know if we were allowed to in the office. That was probably maybe an arm on
Good
the
thing
shoulder.
about the 6 o'clock show was everyone was out.
Yeah.
You know, we sort of had the run of the place to ourselves. So
It's
that
fun.
yeah, exactly. And they used to get the shits with me because I wouldn't turn up until about 4. I'd do everything I needed to do at home. Tommy would take care of everything. That's much. I don't need to be placated by program directors.
No, yeah. You'd walk in. You'd always. Sometimes though, you'd leave it late, and I'd be like, Jesus Christ, where's Dan?
Yeah.
Where's Dan? We need to record.
Well, I'll be honest. I get bored pretty easily. I think by the end of that run, I got punted at the end, but by the end of it, I was probably ready to be punted. In that, I get bored doing the same thing over and over. It wasn't. It was a 22-minute show.
It became very easy. Like it's a routine, right? Like
yeah.
you're just like, filling a few short sort of breaks. And
That's
then
it. But the challenge went at the end. But that was 2017. God, that feels like another world ago. So is that when you went from that moment? Is that when this started?
No, we were doing the podcast the whole time I was at Triple M. We've been doing it since 2016 anyway.
Wow.
But
Eddie was telling me you were recording at Triple M. I didn't even know that.
No, I used to sneak him up after everything was done and all the shows.
When the cleaners were in. That's when we were going about. Yeah. 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Studio. And then I'd go in and frantically delete everything that we'd recorded on there because I was just like, fuck. I was kind of like insecure about it.
Yeah.
In a weird
I always had the great fuck you to Triple M or anyone really. Just happened I was working there. Would have been, if I really wanted to muck around with their minds, you go in and change the car. Well, you go in and just halfway through an Akadaka song, which they'd play 6 million times, you just put foul language in there. So I always planned if I got punted, I was going to do that in my, that part of your mind that thinks about how you can just
blaze of glory.
Yeah. Because if you do it to enough, then they've got to go and check every single song to make sure that it hasn't been taped over in the middle. Kind of sorry I never did that, really. But
Well, you didn't get properly punted, did you?
oh, pretty much. Like, no.
You're still doing footy and shit, right?
Yeah, so that was 2017. November, they called me in. I thought, and by then I'm thinking, geez, they haven't re-signed me here. Something's a bit up. But I thought, nah, we're flying. We're rating well. The show's making money. What I didn't realise is that they took an attitude, and this was only recently explained to me, that, the world's changing, and the boss at the time, who I never got on with.
Nor did I.
Which one? Oh, no, this is the one above him.
Oh.
It's the one above him.
Oh, yeah, I know.
No, I got on with your one.
I didn't get on with that guy either.
No, not many did. And he'd made a unilateral decision that every show had to have a woman on. Every major show had to have a woman on. World's changing. Triple M2 blokey. We've got to have a woman on every show. Okay, fine. So they brought in Emma Friedman to do the breakfast show, right? I think Maddie liked her, Maddie Johns, and it worked. She's good. She's very good. But they realised they've got one too many here. So MG was the one they decided was going to be moved out of breakfast. But they didn't want to lose him. He's too valuable a talent. My contract was up. It was just too neat. So they put him to the 6 o'clock show. And I think they waited for all the pieces to be put into place. And then they called me in middle of November. And, basically punted me. And at that point in that room, while I'm being eviscerated, it wasn't enough I was being punted. It was enough, I had to have all my confidence ripped away as well, told I was hard to work with. People don't enjoy working with me. And
Good Lord.
Yeah, I know. It was a proper,
That's very
See, it was an
radio, though.
undressing as well as a sacking.
it was a total pants pulling down exercise. And so I'm just in a state of shock. And at the end of that meeting, it was like, look, we think we're going to keep you on for footy if you want to do it. Won't be a contract, won't be an agreement. You can fill out timesheets.
Oh, Jesus.
Which is the equivalent of we
Me.
can cut you at any time. Now, to be honest, they were good to their word. They were good to their word. They came the next week and they said, we're going to offer you 60 games. So my thought of, oh, my God, how am I going to pay my mortgage? I'm going to have to sell my apartment. That gave me a bit of relief. But then someone called me in early next week and said, was this said at the meeting? Was this said at the meeting? Was this said at the meeting? I said, yeah, everything. He said, yeah. No, he told me he was going to do all that. He said, look, they just didn't want to lose MG. He said it's all bullshit. And
so what, they're just trying to like...
It was like try and make it my fault.
Oh, okay. Right,
try and make it my fault. And the irony is I kissed and made up with him 5 years later last year. And he brought me on to do cricket. And we're talking about the podcast idea. Then he got the bullet. So
is he gone now?
Yes.
I knew there was some sort of...
Which is a shame because I'd gone through the... we're on the same team again.
yeah, you're right. You just
so
all that for nothing.
All that for nothing. But anyway, I got to do cricket, so that was fun.
So where were you after you got fired? Like, what were you calling footy for Fox at the time? Where was the setup?
So this is really interesting because it's just where you land. It's serendipitous the way it happened. So this is the end of 2017. I got a text message that night from someone at Sky News, Angelos Frondropoulos, and a beautiful message that Triple M don't know what they're losing. We know, what you can do. Let's have a meeting next week. We're going to find a job for you here. So again, that was just relief, and it was nice to have my confidence slowly start to build back up. Now at that point, Sky News had just acquired. It's very complicated. But they just acquired Fox Sports News. Yeah. So Fox Sports News is separate to Fox Sports, even though they share the branding, and it is an offshoot of Fox Sports. It is run by Australian News Network, which is Sky News. So think of Fox Sports and Fox Sports News as cousins more than sister stations. So he gave me a job.
Yeah, what were you doing? Were you sports reporting or were you on a show?
They didn't know what to do with me. They just knew... Give this bloke a job, we'll work it out as we go. And so Fox Sports News, I've never been at a place where people work harder, but no one watches it. So it's always this, fundamental issue of people just absolutely working their backsides off.
What do you reckon that's about? Because it used to be all I watched. Like, it used to be the thing that was on in my house.
Really? Fox Sports News?
Oh, yeah. At uni, we'd watch it all day.
Really?
On loop. But I don't at all anymore. Like... It just used to be the thing that was on, like, you just have fucking... Or if you're hungover...
Well, there weren't enough of you, Tom.
Huh?
There weren't enough of you. Well, when there'd be a big story... So when the cricketers came home from South Africa, they threw me on, right? At this point, they still didn't know what to do with me. They taught me all the system, how to cut a report and how to...
So you were doing all that shit yourself?
Everything. That's what everyone does there.
Okay.
It's a very egalitarian society there. Everyone does everything. Stars, minions, everyone... It's just all hands on deck.
So you're a journalist, essentially?
Well, yeah, I don't call myself a journalist.
Fair enough.
No, because they...
You don't like that label.
Well, no, I don't. They actually have a skill. They actually build relationships with people. I know they can get things wrong sometimes.
Yes.
And they can sometimes conflate things out of proportion, but they do have a skill that I don't have, and a desire to go and break news. I have none of that desire. So then the cricketers came home in March, and they threw me on. Because I was the opinion guy. That's all I was there. Anyway, massive audience and seemed to go pretty well. And that's pretty much what I did for 2 years. And then there was a night in, I don't know if it was 18 or 19, must have been 18. And I got a call, it was on a Thursday, and it was from Matt Weiss, who runs cricket now, but he also looked after tennis when Fox did tennis. And he said, what are you doing tonight? I said, I'm working at Fox Sports News. He said, oh, can you get out of it? I said, oh, why? He said, we've got a bit of a dilemma. We've got 2 French Open matches on, and we got Adam Peacock and, must have been Wally Massour, calling the main game. Let's assume it was Barty, right? And we're going to run Daria Gavril over on the other channel, but we got no one to call it. How do you reckon you'd go at tennis? Now, at this point...
Have you called anything at this point?
No, but you don't say no. You just say yes. Yeah. All right? You be the... Someone told me very early, don't be the problem, be the solution. So I said, mate, watch tennis all my life. Not a problem.
Dream come true.
Yeah. When do you need me? I'll come in at 6:30 or something. And I had to do a show on Fox Sports News, did that, drove over to Artarmon and thought, well... It's the second round of the French Open. This will be over in 40 minutes. How bad can I be? Well, fuck me. The thing went for 2 hours and 50 minutes. And I just said I'm going to be the most vanilla person. I'm just not going to – there's not going to be goodbyes or anything out of the ordinary. I'm just going to do a very straight, simple, forgettable job, just straight down the line. I did it with Leighton Hewitt's sister. Is it Jaslyn? Jaslyn.
Leighton Hewitt's sister?
Yeah.
She a tennis player? Or
she could play. And I said, how many matches have you done? She said, this is my third on TV. I said, well, you're 2 matches ahead of me. But we got through, and I think that planted a little seed that I could be at least trusted.
Yeah.
They called me later that year. Steve Crawley called me. They were having their big meeting where they sort of fixed their roster, and they said, Sunday, August something, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm calling for Triple M. He said, can you do Canberra and the Roosters? And I've gone, yeah. I said, look, I don't mean to be rude, but I'll do it. I would happily do stuff for free, but I'm working paycheck to paycheck here. Does it pay? Because I've got to forego a Triple M shift to do this. Anyway, he looked at it. He goes, yeah, of course it's paid. And then he looked at it. He goes, oh shit, no, it's New South Wales Cup. We don't pay for that. I think that's what he said. And I've gone, Crawls, listen, I have no problem calling New South Wales Cup. I'm not above that at all, but I can't give up. I've got a mortgage. So he goes, totally understand. And I'm thinking, oh shit, have I thrown away my one chance to call footy on Fox? And then the next year, about round 5, they called me. Said, Dan, you want to do a game? I said, love to. And that was it, Newcastle Manly. And it was hastily put together. I know this because when they send out the parking passes, I was to go in under the name Matt Nable. So obviously it was his gig, and they'd come to an agreement that he wasn't going to call. He was going to be the voiceover guy.
Yes, Matty Nabes.
Yeah.
The voiceover man.
What about that guy?
The VO.
Yeah, we've got some guy.
King of the VO.
There's a dribbler who does like Matty Nabes knockoffs, and he sends in videos. He hasn't done one for ages, actually.
But they were special.
Fucking
God,
hilarious.
like some of the ones
and
he did for Mount Pan and
footage
shit.
from Fox and all this sort of shit, and Mount Panorama.
Fucking
it was
unbelievable.
very funny.
So that was it. It was one game. They rostered me on for one game. It was like, don't fuck this up. So I did it, and it wasn't a catastrophe. It wasn't great, but it wasn't a catastrophe.
Like, you're already relatively confident. Like, you've called a shitload of footy. Like, obviously there's nerves associated to, like, your shot.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, how different is it for, like, the call for TV and for radio?
Massively different. Because you obviously say a lot less, right? That's the obvious thing. Everyone knows that. But then it's not just saying less, but you've got to add something different. So it's not just not describing what's going on screen because everyone can see that. It's trying to give some sort of different perspective. It took me a long time to get used to. In fact, this is the first year, 2022, that I felt comfortable doing TV. First year. The first 3 years, I felt completely out of my comfort zone, out of my depth, and sort of hadn't found my voice, hadn't found what my right energy was, what my right anything was. And I'd be up too much one game, I'd be too flat the next game. They were getting frustrated. We all were on the same page. Like, it's not quite there yet, but this year I think it's starting. They're giving me some great games, so
you're getting some of like the main like slot games, aren't you?
It's been pretty fortunate. Look, my days are Friday, Saturday, right? So luckily, a lot of the gun games were certainly Friday night.
Yeah.
But my Triple M days are Thursday and Sunday. Geez, there's been some dud Sunday games this year, hasn't it?
Last weekend.
Poo slingers.
Jesus
Christ. At least there were tries.
Yeah.
So I've been lucky in the fact that the draw has been kind to me, but also they've given me they've given me some. So that's been really good this year.
What do you reckon it is that you've found this year from a television perspective? Is that something
I found
you can
how to be
down?
myself.
Yeah.
Right. It's like Paul Newman in Colour of Money. You got to learn how to be yourself, but on purpose. Right. That's come on. You got to be more impressed. That's a Colour of Money reference.
Listen,
it's a 1986 movie.
Yeah. Well, I was born in 1989, so
91.
91.
So,
I know Paul Newman is because he's on salad dressings, but
you're younger than him.
Yeah.
You look
Thank
50.
you.
You look 50.
Doesn't he look fucking old? Mate, look how grey
What
he
am I
is.
supposed to do with that?
Look at how grey he is. You do
just
look older than
chopped down.
Yeah.
In my own shit.
No, you deserve it.
You got the voice of a 50-year-old.
Yeah.
You got have you done radio? You got a very nice voice.
Thank you. Well, now I'm back up.
Now you're back.
Now I'm back up.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, the compliment sandwich. I should have given you a compliment first, then whacked you, which is the real purpose.
Yeah.
And then, so that was the problem with my 2017 meeting. There was no compliment sandwich.
They just-
But you got one that night. See,
from the Sky News guy. Yeah, you did. He came to you after your
Well, that's
2017
true.
meting. But it was
true.
from different parties, so it doesn't exactly feel
Judd Apatow. That's who you look like. Judd Apatow.
Dude, he's done it the other way. He's fucked you, then he's been nice, and then he's fucked you.
So the compliment's in the middle
Yes.
of the fucking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Judd's
Should be the
alright.
other way around.
Judd's
Judd's
okay.
whatever.
A young Judd Apatow? Probably not current.
No, not
Current Judd's a fucking real slap in the face.
Yeah.
On and to what he's talking about, like what you found this year, but one of my, like, not treasured memories, it was just like one that has always stuck with me, was after Dead Set Legends one day, and you were playing some commentary to Rabs, and it was like you were playing it to him and he was giving you feedback in the moment, and I was like, for me, I was like, this is awesome. But I was looking at it from like your perspective of being like, this is obviously your career and what you want to do, and you've got the GOAT there giving you feedback. Did you firstly, what was that experience like for you, but also have you lent on Rabs since then for advice?
I felt uncomfortable since going to Fox.
Right.
Because we don't talk all that often. Still a very good relationship, but, it's just we don't talk as much as we used to. And also I do feel like it is odd to be... And I know he'd give me advice if I asked. So I don't particularly care about the competition between Nine and Fox, but other people do.
Yep.
Right? People make their choice. They like Gus or they like Joey or they like the Fox people, and they make their choice, and that's the end of it, right? The biggest sort of moment, the thing that triggered my commentary and my even thought of even being a commentator was 2005, and Triple M had just picked up the rights to the Sydney Swans to play in Sydney, right? And colleague Russell Barwick wanted to be a caller for the Sydney games. And there was a trial. They weren't convinced of him or anyone. They were putting this together, and they said, we need to hear you on tape. So the Swans were playing a trial against Essendon at North Sydney Oval, right? And the AFL style is two commentators. And he said, Dan, can you come with me? I just need to get the rhythm. I need to have a second caller. I said, I know nothing about AFL. I don't know the plays. He said, just make it up. He said, I just need to get the rhythm, when to take the gap, when to pick up, all those. I said, okay, fine. So I did it, and it was on tape, and he'd uploaded it into the system. And after Legends the next morning, I said to Rabs, listen, can I play you something when you get home? He said, yeah, of course. He'd never say no. And I found like a 1 minute stretch that I liked, that I thought, because he doesn't know the players either. So even though I've just made up all the names, I just liked the way I thought, this is interesting. I want to hear what Rabs thinks of this as stylistically. And I play, it was the old system. You had to patch through the call, and, you had to ring him up, and I had to connect the thing to play the mini disc audio down the line. I played a minute for it. Anyway, unplugged it, picked up the phone. So, Rabs, what do you think of that? And he took this long pause. I thought, oh, shit. Well, Dan, I certainly think there's a career you can pursue with this. And those words, that lit the fuse. If he had said, well, Dan, look, it's probably not for you, that would have been it. I would have just given up, and that would have been the end. But that sort of, that bit of encouragement was enough. Even though I had nothing to call, it was 2005, we wouldn't get Monday Night Football rights for years down the track. And that came out of nowhere. That was the spark that I thought, okay, well, in the back of my mind, maybe one day I could be a commentator. I might have that in my back pocket.
Would you practice in those years where... No,
not at all.
You just a dream?
Yeah, because there was... In my mind, there was no point in practicing. And it's a bad attitude, but I wasn't going to get a job at 2GB or the ABC. I was starting to really sort of establish myself for Triple M. They weren't getting football. So I didn't sort of really think, well, is there any point to pursuing this? My concentration was being just good on air as a presenter or reading sport. So that was where that was left. And then we got the rights in 2007.
How did you approach that? Did you go?
Well, I just knew I had to be part of the coverage, right? Forget wanting to commentate. I knew my commentary wasn't anywhere near airable. Sure, Rabs might have said there's something to pursue here. There's a kernel of something. But I knew I wasn't close. And they'd already decided Anthony Maroon, who just was established. He'd called games in Wollongong. He was a good caller. But it was late 2006. I had a show on a Sunday afternoon, a 1-hour show called The Wash Up. And it was the same time that this new station, Vega, I think that's what it was originally called, was starting. But for some reason,
Vega.
Oz Stereo was obsessed with this station because I think Nova a few years ago had decimated them. Same company. And they were worried that Vega were going to do the same to Triple M as what Nova did to 2Day. So basically, Triple M, they'd made the decision that music, we had to get rid of music. Sorry. We had to get rid of all shows that weren't necessary because we've got to play music. This Vega is going to play music. So, little Sunday afternoon show, which they'll pay me $300 a show for, they said, I'm sorry, Dan, we need to play 15 songs an hour. And it was at that moment, Tommy nods his head in approval.
Oh, just
in knowledge.
The radio
in
mentality, yeah.
That still frustrates me. Even now it frustrates me.
Mate, it's so frustrating. Like,
I do a show now. And
I love it, dude. And I listen to it all the time, but then sometimes I'm in the car and I'm like, I've driven for like 15, 20 minutes and I've just heard ads and songs.
Yeah. But
it is what
business.
it is.
I get the ads part.
I get the ads as well.
I don't get the songs part.
Yes.
But
during
the
a show, you should just go.
Station just had a really good rating, so maybe the bosses know what they're doing. But anyway, so end of 2006, we just signed Monday Night Rights, and I knew I was going to be calling, but I basically said, look, this little Sunday show, now that you've taken that away, there's really no point for me to be here unless I'm somehow part of Monday Night Football. And they had one job left, and that was a sideline guy. And they said, okay, you can be the sideline guy. And that, for me, was perfect. I just wanted to be part of it. Then the next year, the executive producer had gone, so I stepped in and executive produced, and my first point of business was to make myself the host. We had a half-hour pre-game.
It's a real Tim Sheen's move there.
Yeah, I said to Maroon, listen, Maroon, you just keep yourself ready for the big game.
We're up, mate.
We want you fresh, mate. We want you nice and fresh. You just let me take it. So that was 2008.
It's eyes up.
And then that Vegas, and then that station, Vega, poached Maroon in 2009.
There you go.
And they just had, he and Gus, we had Gus Gould at the time, a thumping rating, right? Like the highest rating any Triple M Sydney thing had had in a decade, right? So Monday Night Football was flying. But Vega had come and offered him a job, and I don't think he was DJing at Triple M at that time. I think he was basically just doing footy and the odd bit and piece. And I was so proud of what Monday Night Football had done. I gave this big Churchillian speech. You can't go to Vega. Yeah, they might give you double, but you know what? Are you going to be satisfied? You've worked your ass off to call footy. You've drank. Like, it was one of the great moments. Sunday afternoon. And my roommate at the time, I hung up, my mate goes, fuck, Jesus Christ, that was something. Mate, I want to work for you after that. Get to work the next day, and I say to Emma, our news reader, where's Maroon? Because he's supposed to. He goes, oh, no, he quit this morning. Oh, you're kidding. I said, well, fuck it, I want to call football now. So a day after giving this big speech, I thought, well, this is now or never.
I was going to say, did you go home and regret the speech? Going, fucking hell, I landed on too thick. I had a job here.
Because I was that proud of us rating 14s that I didn't want anything to get in that way. He and Gus had a really nice rapport.
Yeah.
And I just thought, shit, this is now or never. So I went to Jamie Angel and said, can I do this? And he goes, well, I'm going to have to hear a tape. And the next game was the first game of 2009, and that was a trial game under 20s, January 28 or something, Canberra versus Cronulla, under 20s. Couldn't get team lists, had to make up names. Green, there was a lot of greens and whites and browns and Smiths and Jones. And I drove down to Seaford Oval and it was 40 degrees. And I'm spending 3 hours. All I'm thinking is, well, this is it. If I don't do any, if I can't fake it. It's not like this game's on tape or on video somewhere and I can go and I have to deliver. Anyway, it was fine. I realised with management that they're only going to listen to 5 minutes. So I realised I just left the tape. I made sure it was on, I think, cassette. And I left the cassette at the precise point I wanted them to listen from.
Yeah.
And I knew the first 5 minutes might have been midway through the first half were the best 5 minutes. Anyway, they listened and said, yep, if you want to do it, you've got the job. So that was it. So then it sort of started going up from there. That was really the catalyst for where we are today, drinking bloke beer in a warehouse in
Alexandria.
In Alexandria. Cheers.
It's cheers indeed. It's like, it seems like, well, I mean, I haven't worked in it, but like it's a fun job. You know what I mean? You get to sort of work with a bunch of different sort of former NRL stars, but there is also the element of managing egos of former NRL stars and all that sort of shit.
I've got to say, there's not as many egos I've found. Gus was a unique creature. There were days where Gus wouldn't speak to us on air. The moment the microphone came on, he was unbelievable. He is the best person, talent-wise, I've worked with by so far. It's not funny.
And he wouldn't talk to you.
Not out of anger. He just wasn't in the mood to talk. Go, boys. That was it. But then there'd be some days he'd be telling stories. He'd be so gregarious. But fantastic to work with on air. He was like a teacher to me because I'd started. He was my first co-commentator. He was the perfect guide as a co-commentator. He would tell me if I'm saying the term too much, if I'm being a bit loud. He was fantastic. So I owe him a great deal. Sterlo they're all pretty good actually in terms of egos.
Yeah. None of those guys necessarily.
We weed them out pretty quickly at Triple M.
Yeah.
And at Fox, I've got to say, not many massive egos there either. That's one of the reasons I stayed there a few years ago. I actually really like working with the people.
So you could have gone? Was there were you going to be poached a few years ago?
There was, they Nine made a nice offer.
Oof. Was that what happened there? Like in terms of, I assume there's like you could have been calling Origin potentially, or is it you?
Potentially. So this was, I think this is out there, so I don't even giving anything away. So this is 19, I think, and I just done my first year at Fox. But it was freelancing. I only called 13, 14 games or something. And I'd only called 3 World Cup games for Channel 7 a couple of years before that. So I had very little experience. So that was part of it. I'm thinking, well, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. And at that point, Rabs was still kicking, going well. Like, every year, as you know, Tom, he would, well, I don't know if I'm going to continue. I don't know. I don't want to tarnish my legacy. And I know they were very real fears for him, but I also knew he didn't want to give it up.
Yeah.
So they'd offered me a 3-year deal, and I thought, well, Raps might still be calling in 3 years. And what have I done? I've pissed off Fox, and I've, all I've done is put myself in a position where I'm calling maybe a game a week. And at that point, I knew I needed seasoning. I really knew I needed. That was my radio experience. 09. 1 game a week, Monday nights, that's all we had. And I'd go back and listen and there'd be things I wouldn't be happy with. So the next week I'd make sure those things were addressed, but then it's like whack-a-mole. Then there'd be a whole bunch of other things I wasn't happy with. So I never got it right. And then in 13, when we got the full-time rights, my consistency went through the roof. So whether people liked it or not, it's a matter of taste. But consistency-wise, it was much better. And I knew it would be the same with TV, and that's why I say now, I'm only now comfortable. It's taken 3 or 4 years of calling 2 games, sometimes 3 games a week to get to a place where I feel comfortable. So and also Fox has more, they Backpage, which I'm doing tonight. I hosted 360 a couple of times, doing some cricket over the summer, which will be fun. Like, I just knew there was a wider scope for things. And there was fantastic time for Nine to come in because it gave me security because I'd offered 3 years, so Fox kind of had to match that. So I have nothing but love for Nine for reaching out to me. But in the end, I made the right decision because I'm pretty happy with where I'm at, and I've had a good time. They're good people to work for, Fox. I've never had a blue with anyone from management. Certainly none of the on-air people. So I've had a good time.
Was it ever a consideration of yours, like with the Nine offer, where you just go, geez, I don't really want to try and fill Rabs' shoes, so to speak?
No one can,
because
Eddie.
I know, but I know that, right? And so to follow the greatest of all time would be daunting for me, and it potentially might scare people off.
That didn't bother me. Oh, I would have been hammered, Eddie. I would have been hammered if I'd left Fox. Can you imagine the pieces that would have been in the Telegraph and the Fox? They would have killed me. All right, they would have killed me.
Yeah.
But I was okay with that.
Game.
I've been hammered in the past. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
So I would have been okay with that. My issue, Eddie, was that I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So that was the catalyst. And plus they didn't offer me. It wasn't like there was Sunday footy show or we'll get you to read the news on the weekend, the sports news on the week. It was just, we want you to call footy, which is fantastic. And even Fox said, look, we can't match the lifestyle they're offering you. They're offering you the same amount of money we're going to offer you, and you're basically working 1 or 2 days a week for 7 months a year. If that is what you want, we cannot match that.
And some are off.
And we wish you nothing but the best. Yeah, but that doesn't work for me, Eddie, because I had 5 months off the first year of my current deal because I was only a football caller at Fox and a football caller at Triple A. No, idle time does not work for me. So that I went crazy. 6 weeks is great. 5 months is the road to insanity.
Is that what's that about? Like? Because you always seem like a night owl sort of a person. Generally,
still am.
right? Like you still are.
Yeah.
Because like it would always be that thing of like you were just up late watching all the US sports shows and shit.
Yeah, I don't do so much of that.
Do you sleep
now.
in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm getting 7-8 hours.
You've got to get your 8.
Yeah, I try.
Yeah.
So
Unless
that's
you got
why when
2
I
kids.
do Saturday mornings,
7:30.
that's a battle. The easier show, 2 hours, and you put in the songs and the ads, it's 45 minutes of content, and with Richard Friedman and now Candace Warner, it's the easiest show in the world, and yet I find it a battle, because getting up at 7:30, I mean, how offensive is that? That getting up at 7:30 in the morning for good money, for 2 hours work or 45 minutes work is problematic for me. I know, because I'm going to bed at 3. Yeah. Plus, if I do a game, which I do on Fox on a Friday night, it takes me forever to come down off that.
What are you doing when you're night owling? Are you watching sport? Are you looking up? Yeah.
I've watched The West Wing about 18 times. I only discovered 30 Rock about 18 months ago.
Oh, right. So you're just working
watch
your way
that.
through it.
So you're padding. You're padding in the
Just,
mid.
yeah,
Well, that's my relaxation.
Yeah.
That's my late night, not thinking about work, not thinking about
Are
footy.
you pounding cigars at that hour of the night?
Yes, I am.
You're a big cigar man, I know.
Was I a cigar man back then?
Yeah. You were a cigar man. But you were like
that's my advice.
sneakily importing them into the country.
Yeah, still am.
Are you still doing so we
it's
can't get them
legal.
here?
No,
yeah,
it's
I thought it was
legal.
legal.
You got to pay duty.
Okay.
You got to, but it's legal.
You can get them.
It's cheaper to import them and pay the duty than to buy them direct here. That's how bad the tax is here.
Really?
Good Lord.
Yeah. And occasionally one will slip through the net and you don't pay duty on them.
Yeah.
That is manna
Christmas.
from heaven. That is manna from heaven.
Dave, could you just get us another beer, please?
Yeah, that'd be
Is anyone
great.
else on? Dan, you're
No,
on?
I'm good. I got to work tonight, so that's why I'm just sipping
sweet.
on this.
No,
bloke.
that's all right.
I am metaphorically making love to this bloke. I'm
Pounding blokes.
It's slow love to the bloke. To the
considered.
bloke.
Slow, considered, passionate love. We love it. You're a poker player, are you not?
I used to be. I play every now and then. I just don't have the time. I was really into it in about mid-2000s, like 2005, 2006. Like I played a couple of tournaments every week. I was okay at it, but nothing more than okay. I'd always find my level pretty quickly. So if I went to a big cash table, because I was having a good little run, I'd be put in my place pretty quickly. But no, I love it. I love poker. It's like maths I'm good at, and reading people I think I'm okay at. So put those two. Do you blokes play?
I used to play weirdly when I was like just out of high school online. I went through this period of just playing online poker for ages, and then again, as quickly as I started, I stopped.
We used to go down to the Oak and the Sheaf on, was it Tuesdays and Thursday nights, I think, and play their like little tournaments they had down there. It's all pretty.
They were huge. I don't know if they're still as big. That was, remember the
dunno.
boom That was when the boom, late mid-2000s, when Joe Hasham was winning World Series and it was everywhere. Poker was everywhere. I don't get the sense it's as big. It's still as big at the Star, at the casinos, but I don't get the feeling it's as big around society as it
I just sometimes like, if you want to really have a crack, it's a long time. You got to be in the saddle. And I'm like, I just don't have.
Tell you what I've discovered, and this is not good. Pokies. Can I do? You talked about. You asked me right at the top, what podcast would you like to do? And I said, whatever no one else is doing. Yeah. I want to do a pokies conversation podcast because I have
actually
theories.
Fucking great.
I have theory. Everyone has anyone that plays pokies has theories on when to change the game, when to change the denomination.
Hilarious. Yeah.
If a machine is hitting, do you keep hitting or do you try something else because a machine can only hit? I tell you, there's a world of conversation. I'm a short time is a good time player because I think every press you're closer to defeat, right? You're playing to the percentages. They're built to beat you.
Yeah.
So, I will play $10 spins, but only for a very small amount of money.
Yes.
So I might be there for literally 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not there for the entertainment value. I'm there, bim, bam, boom. And if I'm out in 90 seconds, so be it.
Do you take a little notepad in with you and work through your different theories? You know what I mean? Take notes.
I love seeing the people of non-Anglo variety at the casino with their notebooks at the baccarat table and the roulette. I like that sort of dedication. No, I'm not that dedicated.
Was it roulette where we had the person of non-Anglo descent who was following me around because I was on a hot streak?
Yeah, she liked the look of your streak.
And then
because you were hot.
I was hot.
Tom went on one of the great streaks all time. We were down in Melbourne recently for the Cambosis fight, and Tom just lit this table up.
I'd never played before. That's why I was so good.
And credit to you, you set up our weekend. We hit all weekend long and came back full to the brim.
How fun are those weekends when you come out? You've had a cracking weekend. And you've gained money on the
Seriously?
weekend.
Oh, we were well up.
But the Cambosis fight looked garbage. Like, he was out of his depth, but that venue is shocking
for intimacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just felt. I was watching on TV. It just felt flat.
It was.
We were ringside. So for us, it was a little bit different.
Take it all back.
But no, I get your point.
Yeah.
Like, literally, there was the people in the middle, us, and then there's like acres of room, and then you get to the crowd. Like, there were some people who were
cavernous.
The people at the front seats of the stadium section wouldn't have been able to see a thing.
No.
So I want to go. I'd go to the next one at Laver.
100%.
That's a good venue. So,
everyone really close on top of each other. I think that was what it was. I mean, obviously it was lacking Cambosis to perform, but like
it was lacking atmosphere for sure.
The atmosphere was not fantastic. We were surrounded by bikies, so we were on our best behaviour. It was fucking intimidating.
Yeah, it was.
How good's boxing though? That's people talk about colourful racing identities.
Oh, mate,
it doesn't matter who's fighting. Mundane fights, you would just see members of society that. You wouldn't look them in the eye.
No.
And you don't.
No,
you look at the
Head
ground.
down.
I mean, we were at Newcastle Entertainment Centre for a couple of beers.
Gal v. Kristevsky.
And it's an absolute who's who of the underworld there as well. But then you see the same characters at the Cambosis fight. You're like, jeez.
Well, we were wanting to, like, the dream we had was to just rock up in sort of like Denzel Washington American Gangster furs and sit ringside at like a really sort of mediocre Australian boxing event. And then when we went to Kristevsky and Gallen, we pussied out, and then as we were sitting there and there were legitimate underworld figures in furs, we were like, thank fuck we didn't do this, dude. Thank God.
I went and saw Gallen Lucas Brown in the Gong, 18 months ago, and one of those colourful identities must have recognised me, and he just nudged me and he goes, Gallen in one. I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? So I consulted my sports bet account, and I think he was 10-1 to win in the first round. By the time the fight started, it was about $4.50, and Gallen won in one round.
Wow.
So, look, they just might be really good judges of fights.
Hey.
Well, they watch enough of them.
Yeah. Our colourful boxing identities.
Definitely. Gallen in one, hey?
They watch enough of
he
them.
did. He flogged him.
He did flog him.
No, he flogged him.
He certainly flogged him. Oh, it's nice to get a nudge, though.
Oh,
It's nice to know. It's nice to be like, okay,
here we go.
I'm approachable.
You blokes get recognised?
Yeah. From time to time.
Where do you get pub?
Yeah, at the pub, mainly.
good.
This like where
Footy games.
Footy games, yeah.
Sort of
that's good.
If we go to the Manly games, we get it because we're just obviously big Manly tragics, and we actually just got invited today to their end of season ball, which is ridiculous.
At the Star.
At the Star.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, Manly games definitely, but generally speaking, not really.
You blokes are I can't even get parking for the opening of Allianz. I'm calling that game. They can't even get parking for me. You blokes are getting invited to the Manly ball.
Well, we might have to speak to someone at Allianz then and get you some parking.
Oh, you've got an in.
No, not at all.
Well, we might.
We'll find one.
yeah, exactly.
Manly fans, yeah. I knew you were.
Yeah,
And
no,
I've heard
he is
your
as well.
frustration.
We're both tragics.
That up there was gifted to us by the great Tom and Jake
Great
Jablevich
photo.
up there. Yeah,
Great photo.
Very
The
nice.
outstretched arms.
Have I heard?
How will you react if they punt Des?
Oh, appallingly.
I think it's the craziest decision to try and lump that on Des.
Is there a chance though that he's done? The magic's not there anymore.
Potentially, but
I don't
just
think I should sack him on.
No.
By the way, but
like potentially. But if you look at what has gone on this season and also last season, we were top 4. Arguably should have. We always say one refereeing decision away from making the grand final.
And then,
what?
you just got to turn up on the day.
hang on, didn't you get beaten by 40?
Don't excavate that.
No.
Man. Don't look into it.
Yeah, but if you heard it, it's a cascading effect.
Yeah. But so like we make the top 4 and then this year we're dragged into some like ideological shit fight of a, situation through no fault of Dez's or the players. And then it fell apart from there. And even without Tommy, who was injured, like we were still doing a pretty good job.
Yeah,
of
you
it.
weren't going to win the comp. Though.
We weren't going to win the comp, but like when you lose the best player in the world and Ruben goes to fullback, makes a fist of it, like I just don't see how it's Dez's and this shit year has been Dez's fault at all.
No, it's it's your method of your 3 guns getting a shitload of the money. You take one of them out, you're gone. That's the Manly way. You've got Tom, you've got Daly, and you got Jake, and if one of them goes, it's all over. That it's a risk reward method.
We don't have
for
a
Manly.
we're
Once you
certainly
lost
lacking.
Tom, you knew it was over.
But we were still able to. I don't think many teams will win the comp if they lose their best player.
No, I'm not.
We were still able to, we were still putting together something that was almost a finals appearance. We were there or thereabouts, and then once the fucking Jersey
we're
saga
8th,
happened,
9th. Tommy, the footy he was playing last year, you can take you from we were last until he came back, and then we ended up coming 4th. So he's got that sort of impact. We don't go as well as like a Melbourne without Pappenhausen for sure, but I don't think that a back half riddled with unfortunate events, you're going to sack Des with the
also,
CV
who
he's
else?
got.
Who else?
Well, that's
Who the fuck
perennial
else?
rugby league question.
Yeah.
Who are you going to put in there?
Who are you going to
Well,
bring?
look at
in?
West Tigers. Look what they've had to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's
But
coaches
they've got
everywhere.
the centre of excellence, so things are going to turn around quick.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
is that the idea? Must be that you go in mediocre and you come out excellent. Is that their fingers crossed on that? 70 million, then fucking hell.
Well, also 70 million seems like a shitload of money.
There's a rod in there somewhere.
Like just
Someone's got a kick back there.
Has
Maybe
to
one
have.
of those people we've seen at the boxing has
Yeah,
got a little just bit on the side.
What's
It's a lot of money for little pool. They seem to be very excited about the pools.
a hot and cold
The
plunge
indoor
pool or
pools.
something, and an infrared sauna.
Yeah, look, newsflash, they're not new technology.
Infrared sauna's cheap as shit, actually.
You get one in your home for a couple
you
of
can.
thousand.
From the centre aisle at Aldi, you can get infrared saunas.
There you go.
So anyway,
Are you a Dogs fan?
I'd like
Can't
to
be
see it do
now.
well.
Neutral.
I sort of fell out of love. My last bit of Dogs fandom was getting drunk because I wasn't working at the 2004 grand final when they played the Roosters. Took a mate out with me. He wasn't a Dogs fan, but he came with me. And somehow I bullshitted my way onto the field and I did the lap of honour. I think it's on TV. And I'm pissed. And I'm hugging Steve Price and consoling because he didn't play that game. Remember, he got hurt or he got suspended. I'm hugging him and there's Braith and I'm giving him a hug and I'm doing the lap with him. And then, I don't know, it was around then. So it was really before my sort of career really took off. But then a couple of years later, I sort of fell in love and sort of my priorities had changed a bit. And I went to a prelim final against the Broncos. They led 20-6 or something at halftime. And I said to my mate, who was diehard, an absolute diehard, I said, we're going to get beat. And they did. They got beat 37-20. And then he turned to me and goes, you're not a Dogs fan anymore. You're just not a Dogs fan. And I didn't argue with him.
Right.
I'd fallen out of love. I don't know what happened. They weren't a pleasurable club to deal with either. That was the Coffs Harbour era and the salary cap era. So they weren't the greatest club to deal with. But but then I want to see them do well. If they went back to Belmore, I'd be in lock, stock and barrel.
Right, okay.
But the Dogs at Bank West or at Homebush I don't know. They're not, that's a different Bulldogs to me. It's not the old Bulldogs.
Are they staying at Allianz? Or not Allianz? Are they staying at Accord? Do we know?
I think so. I think they play less there. So I think they play a lot at Parramatta.
One of the great shitholes all time, a core.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Rabbitohs leave and then Bulldogs are playing there less and less, you could make an argument, a strong one, just rip it down.
Oh,
Blow
they
that
have
thing
stuffed. Don't start me on the state. They have stuffed that whole thing up. They have stuffed that up. I mean, we should have had. Okay, if they'd knocked it down like they were supposed to, and put the best 70,000 seat stadium in the world, or one of them, everyone's close to the action. Clear roof, right? Would you be comfortable going to Homebush then?
To be honest, I still wouldn't. It'd be better, but it's not, for me. It's not the stadium experience. It's the getting out there and getting.
I get you.
It's the atmosphere experience. You can't leave and go to the pub and get on the piss and enjoy time with your mates.
My problem with Allianz, my problem with Allianz is they've knocked it down and put up pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Just a bit closer, and it's got Wi-Fi, and it's quicker to get a beer. That's nice. That's great. 800 million? And you're still going to have the same problems getting out of Moore Park. It's a shithole to get out of. The light rail I'm a beneficiary of, and it's still a punish, right? If you want to get the train, you either got to get the light, sit there and stand there, wait for the light rail, or walk down to Central through Surrey Hills and through the some absolute wackos and get to Central. It's also a punish to get to, but it's got the pubs around. It's in the city.
A bit more atmosphere.
I agree with that, but what we're gonna put a $450 million stadium at Penrith. Are you serious?
Yeah. It seems decadent for Penrith.
It seems very decadent for Penrith.
Yeah.
Oh, they won't know what to do with a stadium that snazzy, would they?
Well, what's the point? I don't know. It seems like they're doing all right now.
Works. You know why? Because they don't want to. Because they know this is a golden era. They don't want to lose their home ground advantage for 2 years. Because they were going to knock down the current stadium.
I thought they were just building it. I thought the whole thing was like they're going to get rid of some trots track next door. Yeah,
across the road. They are, because Penrith, the Panthers lobbied successfully, and God bless them for doing this. I mean, they're looking out for themselves. They said, well, could you knock over the trotting track?
Which is 170 years old or something ridiculous.
And because, we're in this golden era. We don't want to have to play at Parramatta for 2 years. We really want to sort of keep at home. And Stuart Ayres agreed.
Is he still MP?
He used to work at Austereo.
Really?
Yeah, salesman.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, there you
But
go.
in fairness to Stuart, he wants to see his team do well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, he's pulled the money for Brookie.
I know, poor old
Dominic
Brookie.
did.
Jesus.
Maybe we
Christ.
should have a
Fucking
minute
faces.
silence for him on Friday night, because it'll be Perrottet that opens a stadium and poor
And
Stuart.
not him. Yeah, I know. What's happened to goodbye? Goodbye. You've
You
pegged
picked up, eh?
Well,
We have.
We've picked up. We're huge fans, but you've dialed it back, or have you got rid of it completely?
I haven't got rid of it completely.
you just saved
I
it
was
for life?
overdoing it. I just thought,
You're just getting too high on your goodbyes. And
I was like, hang on, I've been doing this for 5 minutes on TV. I can't be a cartoon yet.
you don't want to be the goodbye guy.
I don't mind that down the track,
Yes.
but I want to get some runs on the board.
You didn't want to get too high on your own goodbye.
Bruce got up his own backside on special, and that's fine. He had 30 or 40 years of credibility to play with, a lot of credibility chips. So he spent them on special, and that's perfectly fine. Right? By the way, those videos of him when Winks...
Mate, like, he
The first one was great, and then after that, he knew the camera was on him.
100%.
And I'm sorry. I just won't tolerate that.
No.
I won't stand for that.
You're a strong man if you could. You know what I mean? It was very uncomfortable.
Well, and the great
viewing.
commentators in America, they have their go-tos, but they're long established. I can't be after... And I was overdoing it. Forget that I didn't want to be...
Yeah.
I'm just overdoing it. So I'll bring it back.
You bring it back.
I brought it back a couple of times in for Triple M.
Yeah, I heard it on the radio.
Yeah. Accidental. That was it pushed through. I didn't want to do it.
But it just maybe that's the best time to do it when you just like when you feel.
Also, it doesn't help that all the Triple M promos use it, so it's like I'm not doing it, but it's still out there.
It's still there.
So, and Fox used to put it on their promos as well. I'll bring it back. It'll come. I'll bring it back for the finals, but the moment's got to be right.
How do you go with the or is there a competitive nature between you and the other callers at Fox in the stable?
So.
Like, as in, are you sort of, I want that game, or is it, I guess you're not going to really speak to it if there is. But
No, but there really isn't. I wouldn't, but there isn't. I mean, we get a rundown. We get about every 3 or 4 weeks. They do the rosters. That's about it.
Can you tell from the roster where you think you're sitting?
Well, I think you know if you're on the outer. So if all of a sudden, if I'm next year doing a lot of Friday 6 p.m. and Saturday 3 p.m., then I'm on the shit list, right? Because I'm getting
the poo games.
But they mix it around pretty well.
You seem like, from the outside looking in, and obviously I pay a lot of attention to what you're doing because former boss, whatever. But it seems like you've moved up a little bit. I feel like you've moved up a rung or two since you started.
Maybe. I mean, I got like that. Look, they gave me a big game, Penrith Melbourne in Magic Round. That was a proud moment. I actually wore a suit to that game.
Did you really?
It's the only time I've ever worn a suit to commentary. I thought this game deserves. I need to wear a suit for this.
Beautiful.
Plus, my contract's up, and I knew Channel 9 execs were there.
It looks sharp.
Yeah,
looks presentable.
Presentable.
Yes.
Anyway, the game was a bit of a dud, unfortunately, but. No, that was a nice moment. But they mix it around a bit. I might get the good games on my nights, but like last week, I don't even know who did what, but Vossi would have had a big game. He had South North Queensland. Warren would have had. There was a big Thursday game, wasn't there? Brisbane Para.
Brisbane.
Would have been I don't look at the ratings, but it would have been a thumping Raider on there. So they mix. They do a good job of mixing it up, keeping everyone happy, giving everyone just a little taste.
Yeah,
just a little taste.
Do you find it difficult having to manage yourself? In it, like when you're fighting for yourself in those for contracts and shit.
Yes and no. It's my choice.
Yeah.
But I don't need to play. Well, this is going to sound arrogant. I don't really need to play the game of getting myself in the media and sort of promoting myself. I mean, my work is out there.
Yes.
So people can judge for themselves. It's not like I'm doing something behind the scenes, so I need someone to get me out there. So, I mean, I had someone, I don't have a manager, but I had someone recently sort of who I trusted sort of outside the business or outside the sporting broadcasting business just, make a few calls for me. I'm about to re-sign with Fox. So they actually sent me the paperwork last week. So I'll be there for a little while longer. Triple M I'll sort out soon. So I'm pretty, we'll see what happens there. But I'll probably scale it back a touch, probably less games on radio, because I am finding I haven't been burnt out as much as this year.
Yeah.
I got burnt out really quickly.
How many are you doing a week, do you think?
4. Too many. It's one too many. It's one too many. So anyway, I'll negotiate with Triple M and we'll see what happens. I'll be doing a tour week next year for Fox once I sign.
What's the...
Nice problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lovely problem.
Yeah.
Knocking back work instead of begging for it.
I remember when we would work or when I would work with Dan, the bag he'd bring in of shit to keep his voice lubed.
Oh, you lube
And
up.
I used to find it quite impressive what you need to go through to just keep that. Because you've actually got a lovely voice as well. You're talking about Eddie's. You've got a perfect voice for radio. But how do you keep it lubed? What are the things you do?
No, I think it's you get calluses on your hands if you do something long enough. I think my vocal cords have been sort of hardened. I don't. So I used to bring the Entertainer's Secret because I saw Billy Joel use it once. I saw him at Madison Square Garden and he just sprayed something up his nose. And I think just to make sure everyone knew he wasn't doing blow or something, he's just got Entertainer's Secret. And I thought, that's interesting. It's like aloe vera.
Yeah, right.
Which is really good. But I used to have a whole bunch of medicinal stuff. I will drink 2-3 litres of water a game. That's my medicine.
Really?
So
a game?
I piss like a racehorse the night after a game. The night of a game, they're troubled night sleeps. So that's the thing I need to lube up. But I think all the years of smoking and just calling, I think the vocal cords have sort of caught up.
They sound fucking delightful.
Yeah, they do. Did you have issues or was it all preemptive? with your big bag full of lubes.
No, I used to lose my voice all the time.
Oh, you
in
did?
fact, in the first, I was too loud, Ed.
Yeah.
So I was too loud. I mean, that gave it away. Also, I didn't know how to use my voice and project. So I don't want to get into using the diaphragm. That's really boring. But mate, there was one of my solutions, because honey is one of the great lubes. I had the tube of Capilano honey. Did you see me do this, Tom? This might have been even before you. So in the very early days of calling, at half time, I'd get the tube.
No, I remember that.
Squeeze it down.
I remember that.
I don't even know. I'll tell you what, you get a sugar hit off that, let me assure you.
Mainlining honey.
That's when I got proper fat, and I went to someone.
You lost a shitload of weight,
I
eh?
put on a shitload to begin with.
Well, yeah, and then you lost it all, though.
Not all. Well, yes, I lost it all. Put a little bit back on.
Was that from deep throating honey?
Hey? Well, when I went through... I've never heard it described like that. No, when I went through... I went to a personal trainer because I thought I'm desperate here because I knew I had a problem. I was 115 and I knew I had a problem, but I couldn't shake it off. And he said, just write down everything you eat. And he's gone, Monday, 9:30 p.m. What's this thing of honey? And he said, Dan, do you know that is all sugar? Anyway, there are a few other things that were a problem as well. So he straightened me up, and that helped me get on the straight.
It's the straight and narrow. Before we let you go, we had Dave, doing a bit of producing work, doing some research of things that maybe we didn't know about you already.
Uh-oh.
He found, and I was like, I'm 100% certain this is bullshit.
We've talked for over an hour.
Yeah.
You've softened me up.
Softened
You've
you
lubed
up
me up
nicely.
for this.
No,
Fucking
don't worry.
lubed you up, all right.
It's nothing too bad. It says in your IMDb, is that correct, Dave, that did you go to Wollongong University?
Yes, I did.
Were you a fucking mixed martial arts champion?
That's another bloke.
Another Dan Ginnane at Wollongong University?
Ginnane or Daniel Ginnane.
From Wollongong Uni.
Yeah.
Mixed
I
martial-
don't know. Is he from Wollongong? No, I think there's a...
They've conflated the two stories.
I think he's from Perth or somewhere. And he whinged to me once because I had the Dan Ginnane Twitter or Instagram or something.
And he is an ex-mixed martial artist, not happy.
Yeah, he doesn't know where I live though.
No, well, that's good.
So,
And no one knows who the fuck he is.
yeah, no, that's him. I think he's of Southeast Asian descent, but he's an Aussie.
Okay.
So I think that's who he is. I don't know anything about him other than that. And he must have acted in something because let me assure you, I've got an IMDb.
But it's good because it's got all your Fox credits and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So
Who's
I thought
updating that? Who is updating that?
I thought IMDb was for actors.
Yeah.
No, I think TV stuff,
Okay.
it helps you on there.
All right.
Do you give a bit of a knowing glance or a nod to Peter V'landys, like, past alum of
Wollongong University?
Is he
I don't know if
really?
you knew that.
I'm not as sold on PVL as everyone else is. He's
really?
been fantastic, but no one calls him to account.
No, we certainly don't. We get on our knees for PVL here.
No, I'm pro PVL. Let's not
No, let's have that.
conflate, to use your word. But he lost this week or a couple of weeks ago. No one calls him out on it. Okay.
Yeah, that was.
He played chicken with the New South Wales government and lost. Okay, it happens. Not everyone can win every time. But no one says anything.
No. This is why you should have your own fucking show. This is why it should you have your own podcast.
Well, this is the bloke beer sponsored. What do you call this company? What is this company called? Hello Sports.
Shane
Keith
Keith Productions.
Shane Keith Productions.
Yeah.
A nod to the late great.
Yeah.
And
it was a nod when he was.
It was a nod when he was
still
living. It's a nod while he's.
It's a big nod.
Did you get him on?
No.
Oh,
No.
what a mama.
Never got him.
He would have done it too. This is right.
Well, it's a great way to get someone in, right? Name your company.
yeah,
Exactly.
But truthfully, I think you should be doing your own show because
this empire that you've built, I think it's time. You can make an offer.
The terms will be favourable to you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, they'll be in your favour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and look you in the eyes and tell you we won't be gouging your eyes out. There'll be something in it for
we'll
you.
work on it. We'll work something out. Get the accountants on the blower.
All right.
Mate.
That's it?
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on.
Well, I'm very disappointed that I was ready for the Tom Dearden numbnut conversation and the follow-up.
What do you mean?
I'm ready to talk about Tom Dearden's numbnuts.
Oh, you want to talk about his nuts?
Well, I was fascinated by your chat last week.
Well, I think we uncovered some serious questions around what happens when a nut is lacerated.
And I think there's some great hypotheticals that we can explore. Maybe you can do this on another show. But the great hypothetical that everyone goes to is, what do you do if your missus is about to give birth? Do you give up a round 12 match? Well, of course you do. Do you give up an Origin? Maybe. Do you give up a grand final? Fuck no. It's a grand final.
It's a grand final.
What do you do? Okay, I'll ask this to you. What do you do if doctor comes to Tom, we get to the grand final. Now, his nuts is probably going to be fine by then. By the way, I think Kurt Capel wore a Hector protector a few years ago. Literally wore a Hector.
Really?
In a final against Canberra. Like, as primitive as an old-fashioned Hector.
Yeah.
I
mean, by any means necessary, though, if you got to play, right?
How can you run in it, though?
Well, that's a good point. I'm not 100% sure how you run it.
Like running football where you're being twisted. But what if a doctor came to Tom and said, look, I understand you're in too much pain to play this grand final. We've got a needle. Now, we have no evidence to say that it stifles fertility, but we can't be certain either. What do you want to do?
What, needle up the nut?
Needle up the bag.
or does he fire off a couple of rounds, get him on ice, then needle it up? Like, there's going to be a lot. You got to walk through fire.
I like where your head's at there.
You got to walk through fire no matter what you do.
What
right?
about this? Would you lose one?
Just take it.
Well, it's common knowledge you can still produce.
That's right.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at it here, you're offering up a cortisone injection. The risk of infertility is unknown, but there may be one.
But hang on, if you're going to remove one, don't you have to split open the bag? You can't. That can't be recovered in a week.
Nah, of course it can. Look at players play with split eyebrows and shit all the time.
What about a nut?
Yeah, but then you put some protection there.
I think the scrot has proved itself pretty malleable. I reckon.
As we've spoken about this
is a
before.
stitching situation.
Yeah, but the old
school. And if the other team gets a hold of this, they're giving it a nice old squeeze.
The thing you used to do in primary school to protect eggs, you put the egg cartons around it and sort of so you can drop it from a height and it won't crack. Find some way to just get, maybe not a Hector protector, but just some really, I guess maybe you got to invent something to protect the sack there.
Potentially, like a little bag.
A bag for your bag? Well, it's going to have to be hard, though. Aren't the new boxes, the cricket boxes, state-of-the-art, mesh, where they're actually...
I don't know. I haven't worn a box... Well, I haven't played in about 18 years. In fact, last week, I threw away my cricket gear. And it was quite the cathartic but sad moment. I threw it away. It was under my bed.
It's under your bed for 18 years.
18 years. I wouldn't say tears, Ed, but just moment reflection.
Yeah, a pause. Think about all the great moments of the bat.
The 30s and 40s you'd made.
Yeah, there were a lot. How did you know that? I was great for a 30 or 40. I was useless to get to 50.
Yeah,
I was a
reek of it.
Dashing opener, swashbuckler.
Swashbuckling.
There's a word I want to. We'll get rid of goodbye for a while.
Bring back swashbuckling.
Swashbuckling.
Do you ever hear words in life where you're like, "Fuck, I want to use that"?
Yes, I do. That's the one thing I want to improve is my vocab.
He's got a good vocab.
Yeah.
He could be your vocab guy.
That's right.
I'll shoot you a couple of words every time I think of them and just say, here you go. Here's one. Conflate, I think I said before, which, again,
hard to get into a football broadcast.
But I'll just say them without really knowing if I've got it right. I'll hear it somewhere and I'm pretty sure I've got the context of that, and then I'll drop it.
So I've got a nice vocab too, I think, but in the context of a football game.
I've got a word off you, actually, that I keep, but I don't know exactly what it means, and I hear you say it all the time, temerity.
Oh, yeah, that is one that I've pinched guts. He's got the temerity to do this. Yeah. The balls.
First time
would you ever go to one of your colour guys with a really, just every time you throw to him, just with a big fucking word?
You know what? I used to do that, not to show him up, but I once said something to Joey, and he goes, "What does that mean?" I had to explain it. And he goes, "Do you think anyone understands?" And I said, "Well, I'm sorry, I'm educated.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm educated."
Yeah. And of course, Joey pulls you up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do you prefer the looseness of that, like the looseness of radio in that sense, where with calling on TV, obviously you're a bit more
professional.
Professional, but in radio you can be a bit looser.
Well, that's where I say this year's the first year I felt comfortable, because I have felt comfortable on TV being myself. In that I have just dropped in a little bit of flavour.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if it's Melbourne v the Roosters and they're ripping each other's eyes out, not time for humour. But when it's Parramatta Canterbury, 3 o'clock Saturday, and it's 36-6. You can drop in a Simpsons
You can start
reference.
spicing it up a little bit.
Drop in a little. I got a Roadhouse reference in the other day. I was very proud of that. That was in that game, actually. Brad Wesley, he's a bleeder. So if I can get in a Simpsons reference, and it's usually the Saturday 3 p.m. game, I'll do it because I think these are the hardcore fans.
Yeah.
And the game's usually pretty ordinary, like it's a blowout.
Yeah.
So we can have a bit of we can inject something into that.
Love it.
I want to be at the Christmas party or the
Yeah, mate, 100%.
You will be.
100%.
100%.
Thanks for coming on, mate. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's been a
Loved
full
it.
circle moment for me.
How did you find it? I found it not a problem at all.
No, not at all,
Speaking to my former subordinate.
Mate, exactly. I still feel like you're subordinate. Don't worry. There's no way of shaking that. But, mate, I loved it. I think it's been good. I think I was able to have chats with you generally
Yeah.
when we worked together, so it was never something where I was like, oh, fuck, this is going to be tough. So, mate,
Okay.
thanks for coming on.
All right. Beautiful.
Thanks
Till
for
next
having.
time. Drop
Good
in
stuff.
swashbuckling and we'll know it was for us.
Yeah, put that.
You know,
throw it in this weekend and just
who have I
make
got
me
this
day.
week? I've got South Roosters. That's going to be a hard swashbuckling. Well, that'll be
It'll be for like a fucking
Latrell Mitchell double cutout. What's the other game I've got? St. George, Brisbane. Oh, that's going to be
That's going to be less swashbuckling.
less swashbuckling.
There's not much
You know,
swashbuckling about that.
You know, I have used swashbuckling. Joel Kane actually gave me that word. He referred to Scott Drinkwater as a swashbuckler.
Okay.
Because he doesn't mind a gamble, you know, the
Oh,
triple
yeah,
cutout.
yeah.
So I don't have Cowboys, but I'll try.
Give it a whirl.
It'll be for the Hello Sport team.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
my little nod and wink to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, well, I'd like that. Before you go, are you a big fan of Australia's #1 sports gambling show, About Even?
Not as much as get him on side on sports bet.
But like, do you like the #1 show? Or?
Is it the #1 show?
Well,
What's it called?
We certainly say it is. About even.
Even.
That's a good name. That is a great name. Now that's one thing I'd suck at in coming up with a podcast is a name. I'm terrible at names.
Stole that off the old man.
Hey?
He gave us that name.
Oh, it's a perfect name.
Yeah.
Who's the old man?
Mate, he's good. He's a grandfather now, so he's just, loving it, hanging out, not
That's
doing
right.
much.
What about you? How good looking are those kids?
They're cute. They're little cuties.
Not only have you won the wife lottery, but
Yeah.
the kids have got her looks. It's fucking unbelievable.
yeah, no. Very lucky with that.
How are you going to be? Steffi, is it?
Steph, yes.
Boys are going to be after her pretty early. That's going to be quite the fun.
Oh, well, no, Steph, my wife.
Oh, sorry. What are your kids' names?
Evie and Zoe.
Evie and Zoe, sorry.
Yeah.
Two girls?
Two girls.
Oh, you're fucked.
Yeah, I know.
He'll have a third as well.
You are gone.
Watch me have a third. We want to have one more for a boy, and I'm going to have fucking twin girls, which
Now,
will be fine. But
Are you going to? And
not
now this
stoked.
could be a cold underpants situation. If you want to, isn't that one of the theories?
Oh, what? As in to get a boy? I actually haven't looked into that because I feel like I just want to let it go. So then it's like I don't want to be disappointed when they both come, when I have twin girls eventually. Like,
No, I understand that.
I want to be like, just fuck it, see what happens. But then
You're
again,
not going to throw it in the river like Rex Hunt, Marlon.
no, probably not. But you know what? Maybe I will
hope
try
not.
a couple of things.
Mate, I don't know. Look, you like woo woo.
I do like
There's
woo-woo.
there's place for woo woo
Yeah,
and the old school, the old wives' tale.
yeah, okay.
Mate, I'd be looking into it.
Well, I'll have to fucking Google it and see what happens. Again,
know what
a
they
long
say.
time before that happens.
If you could spend half an hour talking about Chinese people doing fake English, you can do half an hour on theories. On people can contribute
that's
to
true,
Theories
actually,
on how to get a boy.
Did you like that though? It was fucking
It
interesting.
was the first thing, I'll be honest, I hadn't listened to you blokes for a while, and I turned it on last week because I knew I was doing the show. I thought, I better just reacquaint myself. I know you're fucking weird, right? That was the first thing I thought, and I thought, oh, shit, what have I agreed to? I still don't understand what those people were talking about. I know it was making it sound like it's English, but it's gibberish.
Yes, exactly. And Dave didn't realise till like 3 minutes in that they weren't speaking English. But
Is Dave your Carl Pilkington?
he's much more intelligent than Carl Pilkington.
Okay.
He's an intelligent. Yeah, he was rocked
that's
by
fine.
that.
but in that moment,
in that
I can
moment,
see
he
how
was
you got them
Carl.
mixed
Yes.
up.
Absolutely.
He's a 24-year-old bonghead though, so like it's a different version of Carl Pilkington.
A bong's still big.
Dave, they are.
And now that we live in the vaping world, by the way, I'll never vape in my life.
They're not great. I've quit vaping.
Well, right.
So is the bong still big?
Bong's still well for Dave. It is Dave.
Because I would have thought like the gummy would have sort
Dude,
of...
gummies. We've got a shout out to Native Seed, not an ad. They just sent them to us, but that's the go.
Are they
edibles.
legal here?
No.
Oh. Well,
Yeah, well, look,
Semi.
we don't know.
We don't know. We don't know, and that's why it's not an ad officially, but
Right,
we get them
okay.
for free.
Right,
And
so
they're fantastic.
okay.
If you're into that sort of stuff, but it's like a much better way of having it than smoking it or
Yeah.
vaping it. I had a vape recently, and I was like, a weed vape, and my chest was just like,
No, it's the apparatus that worries me. The
Yeah.
plastic that gets piping hot. How is that not?
Also,
how are you
dude-
not breathing in toxins off that?
some of them are charged by a literal AAA or AA battery just
Yes.
sitting in there. You're like, this surely isn't
Yes.
doing. This surely
But
isn't.
when you feel where it boils,
Yeah.
and it's on plastic.
It's not good.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know how much, safety's put into it.
Well, they're all from China. and
that's
I'm
what
sure
I mean.
China
Those
have
things
high,
like in 20 years, all of a sudden there's going to be
4 corners on it or something. And it's like,
a bit like mobile phones from 20 years earlier. Everyone knew, well, I put this thing next to my ear. It's probably not safe, but no one's told me it
That
isn't
it's
safe,
no.
so I'll just keep doing this.
we'll have it right next to my
Balls,
swimmers.
yeah.
Yeah, look, hopefully not, but you're probably right.
Anyway.
Anyway, thanks
Cheers,
again,
boys.
mate. Appreciate it.
Good on you.
Could you two just not talk anymore?